name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. This past week, I had a brief jaunt to Arizona to be with my aunt. We're celebrating the life of my uncle who had recently died. And he was 87 years old and had been in poor health for the last few years. So it was one of those gatherings where you can really rejoice and tell the stories of a life well lived. And so as people were going around and sharing their stories, a story came up that I had never heard before, and it was my favorite story that I heard when I was there. It was this origin story of my Aunt Shirley and Uncle Dick. So the story went that my Uncle Dick was just ending his time in the Marines. He'd been stationed in Southern California, and he had 1 week left before he was heading off to a new job in Washington State. And my aunt was during her summer before her senior year, and she was home with her family, a week away from going back to start her last year of college at the University of Colorado. And fortuitously, they happened to both be invited by different people to the same gathering on the beach. And they fell in love at first sight. They spent the whole night talking. Before they ended that evening, they had arranged that he was going to come and visit her in Colorado. Within 3 months, they were engaged, and by the end of her senior year, he was married. It was this beautiful, magical, romantic story, and I loved hearing it, and I loved especially watching my Aunt Shirley as it was told. You could see sort of a blush arise. It was like, this story still felt just as present to her at this moment as it had all those years before. And apparently this was my Uncle Dick's favorite story that he would tell with a twinkle in his eye, as people said. And I loved this story, but I couldn't relate to it, because my origin story with my husband was nothing like that. We had met in grad school, and then he graduated and moved, and so we broke up, and then we kept in touch, and then we dated again, and then I moved again and moved back, and after very many agonizing years of decision-making and back and forth, we finally did get married. It's all's well that ends well, but it's not that same kind of dramatic, leading story where you just know. And I really, as I thought about it, realized that I couldn't imagine making a decision like that, something that would change the rest of my life so quickly and so suddenly. And that is the same problem that I have when I come across these call stories in the gospel readings, where Jesus shows up on the scene and somebody meets him and they are ready to leave their family, leave their livelihood, leave everything they know to follow him at the drop of a hat. I always wonder when I read those stories, where are the regular people? Where are the people who want to think about this for a little while? The people who aren't so sure and kind of want to just take one step at a time? The people who make mistakes and maybe follow the wrong people for a while before they realize what the right thing to do is? And so that's where I began when I got to our gospel story for today, the story that we just heard about Simon. Here is Simon, this ordinary guy, regular fisherman, and he's down by the lake, and he's just finished his night of hard work, and Jesus appears on the scene. Jesus gets into his boat, and he asks Simon to take him out just a little ways, and he starts to preach to the people. But of course, as we know often from Bible stories and maybe from our own experience, with Jesus you might start in the shallow water, but you don't stay there for very long. And sure enough, Jesus asks Simon to row him out into deeper water and to throw out his nets. And this is where you catch just a little glimpse of, sort of pushback from Simon as he says, "Master, we have been fishing all night long and we haven't caught anything." Then, without a heartbeat, hardly a hesitation, "But if you say so, all right, I'll put down my nets." And it seems like such a small thing, but of course that small little thing, that willingness to risk, that willingness to obey when he doesn't understand and can't really imagine anything good coming of this, is what leads to this miracle. He puts down his nets, and there's this abundance of fish, this crazy catch of fish. And that is a miracle. It's a miracle of fish, because so many fish that the nets almost break, so many fish that Simon has to call his partners with their boat to fill up their boat too, so many fish that the boats start to sink. This is a lot of fish, and that is an amazing and miraculous thing. But the real miracle, of course, is not fish. The real miracle is that this is a glimpse of what is possible with God. This is a glimpse of abundance, where Simon had seen only failure and scarcity. This is a glimpse of a new life that's possible, when Simon had only imagined a life set out to be a fisherman, doing this regular job in a regular place. This is a miracle, a call story. It's incredible. It's a great story. It's great for Simon. It's great for Jesus. It's great for the church. And yet, I can't relate to it, because that's not the way my faith journey has worked at all. I can't point to one great story that has led me to drop everything and follow Jesus. I'm a cradle Episcopalian. I've been to church all my life. I have lots of stories where I felt like God was close, where I felt like I was inspired and things were really moving. And I also have lots of stories where I felt far from God. I felt alone. I felt doubts and uncertainties. And so I can't really relate to Peter in this story for today. But then I think back on my Aunt Shirley and my Uncle Dick. And I loved their story of meeting. It's a great story. But it's only one small piece in a much bigger and better story of their whole life together. They had all kinds of amazing experiences. They raised a family. They made these incredible lifelong friends that were there at this gathering. They'd gone on wild and wonderful vacations, and they'd had these very interesting pursuits that they'd done together all their lives. But they also had more than their share of hard times. Uncle Dick had lost his job multiple times and had to start whole new careers. They'd moved more than a dozen times, just having to uproot and follow jobs all over the place. They lost lots of loved ones, including a daughter, by a really tragic suicide, much too young an age. And somehow, through all of that, they made those kinds of day in, day out, ordinary decisions, ordinary life moments that helped them to remain a team for more than 60 years. And while the story of their meeting was remarkable, what was truly remarkable was the life that they had made together. The fact that they were still there, able to tell the story of their meeting with twinkles in their eyes and blushes on their faces all these years later. And I think that that is true for Simon, too. This story that we get today, his miraculous catch of fish, his willingness to put his net out, that is a great story. And it leads to him becoming a disciple. It leads him on this road to being such a leader in the church. It's just one small piece in a much bigger and better story of Simon's whole life. Simon walked on water. Simon was there for the transfiguration of Jesus. Simon became that rock that Jesus built his church upon. And Simon rebuked Jesus when Jesus talked about his coming death. And Simon fell asleep when Jesus needed him at his moment of deepest pain. And Simon denied Jesus at the end, and Simon was crucified himself. This was a life lived, and this life started long before Jesus came on the lakeshore that day and Simon dropped his net, and it continued for his lifetime. And I think that that same thing is true for all of us. Maybe you do have some moment that you can point to that is your moment that defines your relationship with God. But maybe you're like me, maybe not. Maybe there's all kinds of moments. And there doesn't need to be one moment that defines us with God. And there certainly is not one moment that ends our possibility with God. Every moment of every day is a chance for us to come more closely to the person that we are created to be. And every moment is a chance for us to more closely follow Jesus. We are, each of us, works in progress, and we are invited to encounter the living God every step of the way. I speak to you in the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy